Now, councillors, I just want to get ready. It's warm in here. Right, this is how I want to run this item. First of all, we are going to hear from Lynn, Auditor General. And councillors, when Lynn comes forward, we are also going to take the opportunity of her answering, in particular from myself, because this issue was raised by Councillor Christine Fletcher, questions relating to theoretical occurrences in the event that we do not have a budget at the end of this day. And so I have asked Lynn to reflect on that issue as the Auditor General of this country. Then secondly, I'm going to ask our Chief Executive Officer and our Chief Financial Officer and one of our legal counsel to also address the matter of the consequences of that action. I think that it is critical as we go into the substantive motion, given some of the discussion that I've both heard personally and have read about, that it is timely for us to be very, very clear about how this city goes forward. So as we await Lynn's comment to us in terms of the auditor's report, I just want to make a very quick opening comment as to what it is that we're doing here today. We have an agreed statutory and policy framework that we've put in place. That agreed framework is basically that we go through a process of engagement with our community after I lead a process of a 10-year budget. We have been through that process. On the 7th and 8th of May, we had a debate and concluded that process. That was the end of the debate, and we will have no more debate about those issues today. That was it. We agreed that was the process, and I'm going to stand by and abide by that process today. Previously, and most occasions, I see myself as a champion for Auckland. Today, I am the protector and guardian of the purse of this city. And I'm going to be leading out of this chair in that way. And so as we move on in this discussion, I want to then reflect on where we're at now. So having made our decisions on the 7th and 8th of May, we now go to a point where we decide whether we adopt the budget. We've agreed the plan. We've agreed the budget. Now, do we adopt the budget? And so having made that position, having got to this point, the clear thing left for us to do is the formality of doing that, of adopting the budget. And in adopting the budget, we will be able to set the rate. From the people that we're going to hear from, first of all the Auditor General, and then from Stephen, Sue and Cecilia, we are going to get some sense of what alternatives might be as we go through this discussion. And so I'm looking forward to hearing from them. Councillors, this is going to take a time. I don't care how long this takes. Actually, I'm quite happy to sit here for 2 or 3 or 4 days. But this is going to take time. But I want us to adopt this budget. It's the least that we can do. So can I please ask our Auditor General if she would like to come forward, please. Lynn, lovely to see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for coming.
you like me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yesterday morning, the Mayor rang me and asked if it was appropriate if I gave advice on questions from you as a council about the consequences of not passing an LTP. Before I do that, I would just like to say, based on the decisions that were made on the 7th and 8th of May, we have completed the audit of the LTP and we are in a position to issue an opinion on that LTP, on the LTP that is before you. In terms of your request, I should say, as you would expect from the Auditor General, I am an independent auditor. I am not the prime advisor to the council. The prime advisors are sitting before me, the Chief Executive and his team, and the prime decision makers are you as a council. Thinking about it over the last 24 hours, I think there are 5 things that you need to take into account as you think about this decision. The first one, and really importantly, is the community of Auckland. 27,383 of them have responded to your LTP. That is significant. It will be the largest number across New Zealand of people that you are the largest city, of course, but it will be by far the largest response rate. So taking into account the community is the first thing. The second is the impact on rates. Without an LTP, you cannot strike your rates. However, you can invoice for a percentage of last year's rates for the first quarter. So there is a legislative option there, but it is not the whole amount of what you are currently have in your LTP. It's a percentage of last year's rates. Important on that is what impact that would have on the business as usual and the projects that you have before you as a city, and they are significant. I haven't had time and I'm not in a position to say exactly what that would be, but the Chief Executive may be able to give you an insight into that. I think perhaps the biggest consequence of not having an LTP is in the funding area. You have significant funding agreements which will all have requirements. Certainly you have debt instruments on 3 stock exchanges, New Zealand, Switzerland and Singapore, and normally they require some kind of notification when there is a significant event like this. There will be implications in terms of your interest rates and the cost of those. There will be implications in terms of the renewal of debt. I am not equipped to give you all the detail of those what-ifs, but I suspect that your Chief Executive is in that position. Finally, and I don't think it is your most significant risk here, there are legal risks. One, obviously, by not passing the LTP by next Tuesday, the 30th of June, you will be in breach of the law. There is in the Local Government Act a section that allows for that event. So if the LTP is not adopted by the 30th of June, it can be cured by an order in council. That, while it's not legislation, is still requires some effort to get an order in council. I understand that while you are waiting for that order in council, however, business can continue, but you will have some limitations on your decision-making powers. I would also note in terms of legality that an LTP as adopted can be amended after adoption at any point in time. over the 3-year period of that long-term plan. That is not unusual, and patently with the events in the west of the bottom of this island last weekend, that has to be an option for the councils in those areas who have been very sadly affected by that significant flooding. So there is a mechanism for changes after the 30th of June. Going further down, the changes to the Local Government Act last year did give the government powers in terms of local government, and those are available and within the law. So that I don't have any specific advice about what you should do. That is for you to do, but I think those are the 5 major areas that I think you should consider extremely seriously in making this decision.